In this video, I will discuss calcium and phosphorus and the forms in which they exist in the body. Most calcium in the body is stored in bone as hydroxyapatite, with the chemical formula written here. In the plasma, calcium circulates either bound or free. 40% of the total calcium exists bound to proteins, primarily albumin. 15% is complex with anions, most notably citrate, sulfate, and phosphate. Finally, 45% exists as the physiologically important ionized or free calcium. We have stressed throughout this course one of the hallmarks of the endocrine system, the idea of free versus bound hormones and their functionality. Calcium, like other hormones such as cortisol and testosterone, is only active when it is in its free, or in this case, ionized form. However, when we evaluate our patients and check labs, the measured calcium concentration is the total that includes all three forms of calcium. We can measure ionized or free calcium, but this is technically difficult and very expensive when compared with measuring just calcium and albumin. In general, measuring the total calcium is sufficient. However, the total calcium may be misleading in certain circumstances, such as in patients with changes in albumin, like with liver disease, coexistent acidemia or alkalemia, because increased pH will increase binding of calcium to albumin, and in patients with chronic kidney disease, who may have the previously mentioned issues as well as changes in phosphate levels. We use a very simple formula that takes the albumin into account, giving us an adjusted total calcium. Rarely, checking an ionized calcium may be necessary to exclude any factors that may mislead our total adjusted calcium value. Most phosphorus in the body is also stored in bone as hydroxyapatite. Most of the remainder is in phospholipids in cell membranes, in RNA and DNA, and in ATP and ADP. A small amount of phosphorus exists circulating physiologically active in the serum. Overall, only a small fraction of the total body calcium and phosphate is located in the plasma, but it is the plasma concentrations of ionized calcium and inorganic phosphate that are under hormonal control, which includes parathyroid hormone, calcitriol, fibroblast growth factor 23, and, to a much lesser extent, calcitonin. Phosphorus balance is primarily regulated by PTH and by FGF23, which promotes renal excretion of phosphorus. At this point, you should begin to think about how alterations in any of these hormones may contribute to changes in overall calcium and/or phosphorus homeostasis.